what I think has been innovative, and again, I'm not in your industry, but it's innovative in terms of dealing with traditional software developers, is we sat down like we're doing tomorrow in a conference room, and we had a discussion about what can AI do and what are our needs, and we organically figured out what were the first 4 things we wanted to tackle.
We have with us again Braun, VP of AI Development, HPE. You folks are sponsoring this portion of the CTO Advisor Road Trip, where we're traveling from Tennessee all the way to San Jose for GTC, NVIDIA's AI conference. And we have the rare pleasure of interviewing not just executive, but a non-IT executive, a customer of HPE, Russell Forrest, town manager of the town of Vail. Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah. Glad. Welcome to Vail.
You know what? I should have you. I've driven far north here a few times, and it's going through Wyoming is interesting. It's a nice area, but man, the Vail Pass is beautiful. And your team has the responsibility to make sure that visitors, residents, all have this amazing experience that I've had. First off, thanks for just an amazing job.
You bet. Well, thank you. And again, it's a pleasure to have you here.
So the first question I want to ask is, the town of Vail, is it where I would think of coming to have a conversation about AI? You're not an AI expert, right? What made you undertake an AI project when stat after stat after stat is telling us that AI projects aren't having the ROI that executives expect? What made you dip your toes in AI?
Right. Well, Town of Vail, we have big city expectations and big city issues, but we're still a small town where we can get a lot done over the produce section in the grocery store. So we have significant big expectations from our community and our customers. And we're always looking for creative ways to do more with less. And we thought AI would be an interesting opportunity, particularly to look at some of the mundane things that take an enormous amount of time for my team to do. Looking at old records, property records, looking at old records related to finances. And it takes our people a lot of time just looking at sometimes handwritten, documents from the 1960s. So the thought was, could we use AI to help us spend more time with our customers, which is our residents, our guests, our employees, and allow our employees to spend more time face to face with human beings and allow AI and computers to deal with messy data. And then we discovered through this wonderful partnership that really started over a couple of beers, what AI could do. And so this has been a wonderful iterative learning process for us, which has been untraditional compared to dealing with other software vendors and even other AI vendors where they're really just looking at functions with individual silos. This turned into a discussion about how we can use information and data across multiple functions in the town of Vail. And again, it's just about a wonderful learning process with HPE and their partners.
Wow. You know what? I've been around the block enough, and I've worked with government entities enough. One, the mission between government and corporate America is different. So it allows you to take a different lens, but the complexity of what you just said of removing the silos between organizations, that's hard enough to do without technology. And you add technology to the mix. What has been some of the encouraging or roadblocks to the removing of silos as you adopt these AI processes?
I think first just having the creativity and imagination to think across just different functional lines, and then the realization that laserfiche data,
Yes.
which is something, it's just a format of storing information and
Right.
data.
That
And-
nobody under 40 years old knows.
right. And we use it across multiple departments. So being able to have AI access that, decipher it, make sense of it, get information out of data that has value across multiple departments. The other application that really caught our eye is we have cameras everywhere now. And, so we use cameras to monitor traffic, but then realizing we can use those same cameras to detect a fire, which is obviously a big issue in Western Colorado, or, maybe to detect potholes. And we're using the same technology for multiple different purposes. And then that application kind of extended on our buses. We have cameras on the outside and inside of our buses. So can our buses be rolling data collectors? So those are some of the things now from the first four applications we're beginning to imagine with HPE.
So I'm excited to dip more into the people and process side of change, but I have to ask this question. It's a frank question. With Robin sitting here, I'm going to ask why HPE? Like HPE at the start of this project wasn't the brand with the billboards and the big commercials. How did you find HPE?
Well, we're probably talking about computers and AI, but this is a story about people. And it started with a couple beers with Luke and Kamiwaza inviting us and introducing us to Robin and her team. And then Robin seeing the opportunity and bringing a team to Vail, where we sat around a conference table and we talked about what our issues were, what our ideas were, and then also with HP and Robin's team, sharing what AI could potentially do for us, and then finding those connections between what technology could do and our needs.
So Robin, I'm going to pick with HPE for a little bit. You folks have this Unleash AI branding with folks like Luke at Kamiwaza, who we've talked to many a times, partnering with you to enable these types of projects from both a services and software perspective. But one of the things that I find interesting is that HPE is not usually the one interfacing with a Russ. You folks have fabulous relationships with CIOs. As you think of more traditional smart city projects, those are very much within the wheelhouse of who you reach out to. Talk to me about the start of this conversation. How did that go?
Well, I think part of it was that I had this idea that we weren't that traditional approach to smart city. The fact that I'm saying traditional approach to smart city really goes to the speed of AI. But that how people have traditionally approached smart city has been around that there are cameras and there's sensors and there's all of these things happening at the edge, which there are, and they're fantastic things you can do there. But I started getting really interested, particularly in talking with Luke and with Kamiwaza around there's so much more we could actually help unlock for cities that are miring them down and not letting them be smart. And so when we were talking about it, and then to Russ's point, it's amazing the power of, a cocktail napkin and a beer. Because you can always draw on those things. Thank goodness they smell. The that really in starting to talk about it, it was in bringing those technologies together and in bringing a more complex stack that includes like Video for Vision AI and ProHawk and now Gambit for concierge and interface, but then Kamiwaza with that agentic glue on the back end, but making those things that like Russ and team didn't have to worry about. Because that was for us to bring together. It was for us to help bring the technology part to it. Leveraging the power of our Unleash AI ecosystem, bringing in the infrastructure from HPE perspective. But again, I think with the power that I love and why I've loved this partnership is that it was truly what could we help Russ and the town solve with the type of technologies we could bring. And let's bring those two things together and innovate together and be on this journey to kind of redefine what smart city is, to be like, how do you start to break down those silos? How do you start to, when you think about like emergency response or anything like that, like you have all of these departments, and are there ways that we can help share data faster, easier, better? As we go, even with like the discussion that Russ was highlighting around how do you deal with like the 811 request, around like potholes, lights out, things like that. Are there ways to make all of it easier so that you can just help run the town better?
So, Russ, Robert just broke down like the technical back end of everything that needs to happen to get to what you pointed out. But you inadvertently became the face of AI for the town. Like I'm sure when you told your staff and your customers that you were going to adopt AI, there had to been a sense of battling this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, around AI. How did that communication work initially?
At first it was very organic, and I think it probably first starts, we're a value-based organization, all about serving and supporting our community, and one of our values is innovation. So we pride ourselves on being the very best we can as a public service provider, and one of the things that goes with that is embracing innovation where it works and where it could have value. But again, this was very organic in terms of really sitting down, learning what the capabilities of AI are could be, and then sharing with Robin and her team what our needs are. So I didn't sell that. It was really self-discovery with our team sitting around the table. So it wasn't a hard sell I had to make to my team. They saw the opportunities, and now they're asking, "Hey, we did something really cool to improve our record keeping. Now the next application could be, we could do more with looking at financial records and saving time and potentially saving FTEs. So now, which is wonderful from my perspective, I can kind of sit back and support this every now and then, be on camera, but it's my team kind of pushing Robin and asking lots of what if questions. So the process that Robin and her team took, really sold us because it was organic. It was not a hard sell. It was really trying to respond to real issues that we had.
So again, inadvertently, you're on the cutting edge of AI. Like this is happening so quickly.
Yeah.
And failure is going to happen. Yeah. Like you're going to try some stuff and it doesn't work and you need to try something else. Have you run into things where you just had to change course?
Yeah. I mean, one great example is, and we thought this was fascinating, when you come to a place like Vail, you want to understand, where do the locals go? What do the locals do? How do I get that insight?
I don't want to look like a tourist. I don't want to be talking all that 54 feet of rolling Airstream, but I don't want to look like I'm a tourist.
Exactly. So my son's a ski instructor, and people want to know what's in his head. And so we had the idea of an avatar initially, that could be an image and an avatar people could interface with on a screen and look at. And then as we got into it, we realized, well, this technology isn't going to work the way we thought it was going to work. So we pivoted. Robin found a different vendor, and now it's basically a texting and a voice message system, and we call her Chloe. And so I can call Chloe right now. And this is it's not who it's where you can park in Vail. I can call Chloe right now, and Chloe can tell me the best place to park in Vail. And I can ask Chloe, is there any reggae going on in town tonight? And Chloe will tell me what my entertainment and special event options are. And that's kind of mind-blowing. And we think that's the way of the future, is instead of being on a website, you can drive to Vail and coming over Vail Pass. Hey, I'm 2 hours or an hour from Vail. Where do I park? What do I do? I like to eat vegan for lunch. Where do I go to lunch?
So I find this fascinating that the basic concept is that you folks have a bunch of data and you like to talk to your data. like this wonderful computer science project or concept that computers should be able to make it easier to use the data that you already have. And it sounds like your organization is on the cutting edge of figuring out what that means from a governance perspective. The town transportation department, the town's commerce department, all have the access to the same underlying microfiche data, but one employee would have to search for information manually that could benefit another employee in another department. But it seems like this AI Unleash project has enabled you to kind of get this synergy that I don't know if you even expected it.
I didn't. We didn't know the benefits kind of going into this discussion until we really discovered it with Robin and our team. So it's been an absolute discovery process and very organic. And again, even some of the where data was and how hardware could be utilized in different ways wasn't fully appreciated before we had these conversations.
Russ, I have to ask you this last sensitive question. There's a lot of fear, and I think broken process around how to adopt AI.
Yeah.
I think some of the first initial AI projects start out with how do we take existing processes, replace that process with AI, and then reduce headcount. But what it sounds like what you folks did was more of, you know what? How do we create new processes based around AI?
Yeah, in a place like Vail and like most municipalities, it's all about public service, which means, where our people are interacting and answering questions with our guests, our residents, our employees, and we need more time for them to do that. So when we went into this, we began, once understanding the technology and some of the capabilities, formulating our goals, which was, man, if we can get our people spending more time with human beings, our customers, and less time dealing with messy data, that's a win. The other part of that too, in the same breath, is if we can get our people doing higher level work and less mundane work, they're happier at work.
Well, there's this wild concept that AI actually brings people together. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Really appreciate you two stopping by the CTO Advisor Studios. Robin, any last comments you want to share with the audience?
I think one of the things that has helped this be successful and continuing is that we approached it like a partnership and really a joint journey together, and that we're all learning as part of it, where the value, how to deal with the messy data, that we're able to very successfully help deal with messy data. But it's really treating it as an innovation partnership that, just by listening, I think we've been able to really be able to focus our efforts on where can we get the best ROI in working with the town to be able to help drive their mission forward. And to me, that's in the end why we're doing this.
I'm glad you two have found this partnership. I think this would be a great example for, enterprise IT and other smart city projects of how collaboration should look like, what it should, how it should function, how communications, like a lot of great. We even wrote a paper on how this is a model for AI infrastructure framework. So I think good stuff is already coming out of this. If you want to learn more about the CTO Advisor, you can find us on the web, thectoadvisor.com. I'll provide links to the Town of Vail and some of the cool stuff that they're doing, as well as HPE's AI Unleashed program. Thanks for tuning in. See you folks in GTC or at GTC in San Jose, 1,300 miles later.